Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Zaf Fest. Really, could we have called it anything but that? The celebration of a man who's a celebration of life itself. A man who gave heart and soul to St. Michael's College students and community for parts of 5 decades. A man who personifies all that is good in humankind. A man who loves a good and not so good joke more than anyone. How could it be anything less than a festival? St. Michael's is pleased to have the opportunity to celebrate the amazing career of Zaf Bludevich and share with him with alumni and friends lucky enough to be in the room tonight. We have a lineup of distinguished guests who mean a great deal to the guest of honor. He doesn't know who they are yet, which is kind of fun. And will grace us with some insights and stories of a man we know and love. First up, you ready, Zaf? All right. First up, a man who's known Zaf since his college days at Norwich University. Tony Mariano is currently in his 23rd year as Director of Athletics at Norwich, a position he was appointed into in 1992 after serving first as the cadets men's soccer coach and then the men's ice hockey coach for 14 years. A close friendship that began in graduate school on the Northfield campus continued to grow over the years as Tony and Zaf were professional colleagues at 2 of Vermont's finest institutions of higher learning. More importantly, Tony is also a parent of a St. Mike's grad, Tommy Mariano, class of 2003, who captained the hockey team in his senior year under Coach DiMasi. It's my pleasure to introduce Tony Mariano for tonight's first tribute. Tony?
Well, thank you, Patrick, for the great introduction. And Zaf, I just want to say, to have a scholarship named after you and to have a training room named after you is a great, great honor. Now, rumor has it that they've got a room picked out for me at Norwich when I retire, and it's got 2 stalls and a urinal. And I can't wait for that ceremony. I want to thank Chris Kenny for asking me to speak here tonight about my good friend Zaf. I first met Zaf in August of 1974. Zaf had just graduated from Norwich, and I from St. Lawrence, and we were both enrolled in the graduate school at Norwich. And it was great to have Zaf there because I didn't know anything about Norwich, and most of the other guys in the graduate school didn't know much about Norwich, but Zaf did. He knew all about the traditions that the university had, although there were some that he failed to mention. I remember the first day of classes, and we were living in the dorm at the time, and it was 5:30 in the morning, and I heard this unbelievable explosion. I got up, I ran into Zaf's room, and I said, "What the heck was that?" And Zaf said, "Oh, that's the cannon that they blow off every morning." And I said, "Every morning?" He said, "Yep, every morning." And he went back to bed. I could hear him laughing through the door. That was one of the things that he never would have told us. So much for Norwich traditions. Now in your program, there's a list of Zafisms. You know, his witty play on words that he has a tendency to share with anybody that will listen to him. And I know that you've all heard them all, but at one point in time I hadn't. So one day we were playing golf, and he turned to me and said, "You know," he said, "you know why I bring an extra pair of pants when I play golf?" And I stopped for a minute, and I thought to myself, well, maybe he's got a urinary problem. I didn't know. I didn't want to say that. So I played dumb, and I said, "No, Zaf, why?" And he said, in case I get a hole in one. There are too many of these to repeat, but I do believe that I heard the very first Zafism. And this is the God's honest truth. We were sitting in my room at Norwich. We were studying or eating. We were real good at eating, so we were probably doing that. And we heard this siren of a fire truck in the background. And without missing a beat, Zaf said, and I quote, "I smell smoke. Listen." I shook my head trying to comprehend what he had just said. And the funny thing about it was, I knew exactly what he was trying to say. We had a great time in graduate school, although some of our research was extremely boring and took us to the UVM library on many a night looking up information that a neurosurgeon would never use. And we had nicknames for everybody in the grad program. I called Zaf Blued or Blue Boy, and he called me One. At the end of that year, we graduated, and Zaf ended up coming to St. Michael's, and I went back to New York State. And then in 1978, I came back to Norwich, and our relationship continued as though we never left. Zaf has been my travel partner to countless ECAC conventions and my partner on the golf course. Although, after seeing him play golf today, I don't think he has to worry about bringing that extra pair of pants when he plays. Unless, well, you know, he is getting older. And he might need them. On another occasion, we were traveling down to the ECAC convention, and Zaf had gotten a car from St. Michael's. And apparently the week before, he got a car that had Easy Pass, so he wouldn't have to stop and pay the toll. So we're driving through New Hampshire, and sure enough, he drove right through the toll booth. So I turned to him and said, "Zaf, you don't want to pay that toll?" He goes, "No, I got Easy Pass." And then he looked up on the windshield and saw that he didn't. So he said, "What do you think will happen?" I said, "Zaf, I don't know, but I'll keep an eye out for the New Hampshire State Police in case they start coming up from behind." As Patrick said, in 1999, my son Tom enrolled at St. Michael's. And for the next 4 years, I knew that he had someone who would look out for him. And Zaf did. He was his mentor, and best of all, someone that my son could go to for anything. And that was a real comfort to my wife and I. Zaf has spent his entire career taking care of athletes, his family, his friends. He finds the good in everyone he meets, and I've never heard him speak a bad word about anyone. I consider myself fortunate to be called his friend. Blue Boy, congratulations on your retirement. You will forever be a part of St. Michael's College and a part of all of the individuals whose lives you've touched. And I want to wish you all the best for whatever lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our next speaker really needs no introduction at a St. Michael's College event. Ed Markey personified Purple Knights athletics for parts of 6 decades. From his arrival as a talented two-sport student athlete in 1947 through his prestigious career as a coach and administrator. Ed served as the director of athletics at St. Michael's for 29 years, a service record that may never be broken, retiring from the position in 1998. There were many highlights in this man's highly decorated professional career, but one of them had to be the day back in 1975 when he hired tonight's guest of honor, given the opportunity to work with Zaf for 23 years. Now a full-time Floridian, we're delighted that he was able to come back home tonight to be with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ed Markey.
Thank you, Pat. You read that just the way I wrote it. You know, when I sat down and saw the program, another project of Chris Kenny, I noticed here it said Zaf Fest celebrating Zaf Bludevich, the man, the myth, and the legend. Well, I want to tell you, all of you people, that this is no myth. Zaf is no myth. I don't know how that got in there, but it's there. I won't bore you with any of Zaf's jokes, but I see that in the program that many of his jokes were noted. I'm glad that I don't have to tell any of his cow jokes, and I'm delighted at the fact that he now has at least used elephants and rhinos for jokes. Here's a man who had the word no never was part of his vocabulary. He could not say no to anyone who needed any help, any assistance. I can't tell you the number of times that his wife Jackie had to wait outside the office after work at about 5 o'clock when Zaf would tend to a student who he preferred not to have miss a day of class or practice so that he could treat him or her that day. But Jackie, being the patient wife that she was, agreed to it and was waiting for him more often than I would say. Zaf is a person who had, I never had the pleasure of meeting any of his family, but I can only assume that they were wonderful people in giving him a life that provided the wonderful ideals of loyalty, dedication, compassion, love and affection. And he showed this often during his period of time as the trainer. He was so loyal to me as an assistant, and he was exceptional with students. That was always part of his persona. His volunteering transcended St. Michael's. He often coached and was part of the Colchester system where he would assist in certain areas of coaching for his daughters and other young people. So he did not confine himself to St. Michael's College. He was really a person who was volunteering, never said no to anyone, is oftentimes coached and offered his assistance whenever we had a problem needing a coach. You know from reading his background here that Zaf coached our swimming team. He coached a field hockey team when we first started, offering his time and effort in developing these programs. But again, never ever said no and offered to do these things whenever we needed someone to provide that kind of leadership. It is a pleasure to be able to be here to dedicate and hopefully with this scholarship that I have a grandson who's considering college now. Jerry Flanagan was kind enough to accept him without an application, no less. I'm just hoping that he'll consider and maybe even subject himself to the possibility of receiving the Zaf Bludevich scholarship. Because I know they need some financial aid. Now, you can hire someone to take Zaf's place, but you can never replace a Zaf Bludevich. And for that, I am eternally grateful. Thank you, Zaf, and my best wishes for a successful retirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Joan Rice Rye first met Zaf as a young and talented undergraduate student athlete, working for her opportunity to compete in the sport that she loved, cross country, before St. Michael sponsored the sport for women. She competed with the men's team and eventually led the first women's team in the fall of 1978. As athletic trainer and coach for club track too, Zaf played a key role in Joan's experience as a student and eventual Hall of Fame student athlete. Their friendship would continue to grow as colleagues at St. Michael's for many years. After serving as associate dean of the college for 8 years, Joan is now an associate professor of English on the college's faculty, and it's my pleasure to invite her to the podium this time. Joan Rice Rye.
Thanks, Patrick. Zaf Bludevich has been involved in almost every aspect of St. Michael's athletics since his arrival nearly 4 decades ago, and I have always liked that my very first semester at St. Michael's was also Zaf's first semester here. I'm delighted to say that I knew him from the start. Zaf was the head athletic trainer in 1975, and I was a first-year student training with the men's cross-country team. I ran track and cross-country in high school, but field hockey was the one fall sport for women in those years, and in the beginning, I had a fair number of people wondering what I was doing. Periodically, I wondered what I was doing. I can remember Zaf telling me at about the midpoint of that first season, "You are scoring in these races, so stop worrying about what you're doing." Zaf always had that kind of practical focus and that way of giving you confidence in pivotal moments. By my senior year, we had the foundation in place for a women's team, and Zaf was our coach. He was a good recruiter, and his enthusiasm was the reason most of the other female runners joined. We did compete in varsity women's races in my final season. It was the first time ever that the college fielded a team of women runners. By 1980, the women's varsity status was official, and Zaf continued to coach both men's and women's cross country in various combinations for the next 16 years. He made an enormous difference in many young lives. Zaf always had a lot of very practical advice for us and something to say in nearly every conversation. He was a big advocate of breathing with complete awareness long before yoga or meditation was anything that the average person did. And he had a lot of advice about relationships too. Someone on our fledgling women's team was always having boyfriend problems, and invariably we'd ask Zaf what he thought. "If you ever get close to thinking about marrying someone," Zaf would say, "you better make sure that person is your best friend. And make sure you stay best friends. That's how things will last." And of course, Zaf did exactly that. Zaf was also someone who knew the many ways college athletes could screw up their training and jeopardize their status through poor decision-making. Don't do anything stupid, he'd say when weekends rolled around. But he was also aware of the periodic ritual the men's cross-country team was known for, the occasional afternoon captain's training run across the Winooski River and up over the hill along Pearl Street into Burlington, where we then coasted down King Street to the Chicken Bone for the cool-down portion of our run. We didn't run back. But practices with Zaf, which did not involve training runs to the Chicken Bone, were always a disciplined counterbalance to various episodes of ill-advised choices, and we worked hard. He was an excellent coach, and he knew a lot about running. It always amazed me how much individual time and attention went into our training when Zaf was so busy with other teams, other coaching contexts, and endless hours of serving the college as head athletic trainer for students and faculty and staff. He continued that kind of comprehensive service to the school intensely and consistently throughout his nearly 4 decades at St. Michael's. And I was an eyewitness, not only as a student, but much later as an assistant cross-country coach, an administrator, a faculty member, and a parent. He seemed to have a hand in everything, and he had a way of making everything better. His PT skills have fixed so many of us on this campus, and his timely advice has saved more than a few of us from more serious injuries. We will miss his wisdom, and most especially his compassion, because that seemed to be what fueled his energy and his drive. He loved what he did, and he loved the people he worked with. There is never any doubt that life is good for Zaf Bludevich, and Zaf Bludevich made life good for us all. Thank you, Zaf.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce 2 alumni of St. Michael's. Carol Von Olsen Piccaro, class of '80, was first introduced to Zaf as a member of the women's swimming and diving teams here at St. Michael's, where she also met her husband, Chris. Carol is now president of U.S. Chemicals in Darien, Connecticut, and fosters Zaf's spirit of involvement as a devoted alumna of the college, a former member of the Alumni Board of Directors, and now a new member of the college's Board of Trustees. Steve Parisi, in '77, first got Zaf as a member of the men's soccer and club lacrosse teams as an undergraduate and majored in biology. Steve is now president of Deerbrook Fabrics in Fairview, New Jersey, and pays it forward Zaf style through his efforts as a youth sports coach in his spare time. Ladies and gentlemen, Carol Piccaro and Steve Parisi.
Good evening. I first met Zaf due to an injury, as many of us did. It was my junior year in fall of 1975 when I injured an ankle, and head coach of soccer team came to me and said, "You need to go see the trainer." I looked at him and said, What's a trainer? We didn't have trainers prior to that, and we didn't even really know that there was a trainer. He said, "Well, you have to go see Zaf." And I said, "What's a Zaf?" So I wound up in that room, and Zaf took care of the ankle, and still works pretty good. All those 39 years later. One of Zaf's other responsibilities back then, when he first was the trainer was he also took care of the laundry. So we would get, at the end of every day, we'd have our mesh bag and we'd throw all our dirty jerseys and socks and everything else and shorts in there, and we'd come back the next day and there would be nice clean laundry in the bag. And sometimes, you know, when it was coming to the end of the semester, you'd be out of underwear and socks of your own, and those might find their way in there, and Zaf took care of that as well. So, and never with a complaint. So you talk about, we've heard all of these other people talk about how fortunate they were. I think that back then we were extremely fortunate. I also have the distinction of that injury was the first fall injury of 1975. So I was Zaf's first patient. So I appreciate that. He did a lot for me. He did a lot for all of us back then, and started something that we're very proud to be part of.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Zaf during my first few days at St. Michael's College. I signed up to be on the diving team, the swimming and diving team, and Zaf was our new coach. And by the way, Zaf knew nothing about diving. He actually learned about it as we went along. But, you know, he never said no, so he's like, diving? What's that? Oh yeah, I'll do that. So almost immediately, Zaf became more than a coach to me and my teammates. First off, he gave us all nicknames. We had Liza Baby, Paniche, Ruthie, and my nickname was Tabo. It's a made-up word. It has to do with my nickname, which is Tina, and my maiden name, Van Osen. So T-V-O and Tabo did. So, but actually, some of my friends still call me that. Thanks a lot, Zaf, for my nickname. So Zaf told us a lot of jokes that made us laugh. He counseled us on collegiate dramas. He became our friend. So Zaf made our St. Michael's College experience just that much better. Thank you. So for 39 years, Zaf, you've committed yourself to be an instructor, a mentor, a friend, a trainer, and a coach to literally thousands of students who have walked through the doors of St. Michael's. You've made us better athletes, helped us through injuries and family crises. And through sports, you've made us better students. You made us feel part of this wonderful community, St. Michael's College. Your talent, your amazing talent to inspire people to achieve that which they do not think is possible has touched most of us in this room and beyond. And as an example, I never thought it would be physically or mentally possible for me to do a double somersault off the one meter board, and Zaf believed in me. And I did do that double somersault. I only did it once, but I did do it. It hurt. So that's why my husband Chris and I, Ara, that's another nickname, and many friends of Zaf have decided that the most fitting tribute would to be established a scholarship in your name. You have done so much for St. Michael's College, it's the least we could do to say thank you. You are now taking a well-deserved rest from St. Mike's. Please know how much we appreciate you. And please don't wander too far from this wonderful community, as we will always need your guidance. Thank you, Zaf.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Steve. Our next speaker, DiMasi, is working on a legendary career at St. Michael's of his own. currently in his 33rd year of service to the college. Another product of Norwich University, Lou enjoyed a 25-year Hall of Fame coaching career with the Purple Knights men's hockey team, with his good friend Zaf at his side, providing medical and administrative support and comic relief every step of the way. It's my pleasure to introduce the college's Director of Res Life and Senior Associate Dean of Students, Mr. Lou DiMasi.
Thanks, Patty. Appreciate it. I'm going to need a little bit of help as we start off. Nice job so far. Zaf, you got a great day going here. It's unbelievable. I'll probably speak a little bit more about that, but I got to start out from the beginning, and I got to talk about heritage. I think that's the most important part of things. And to kind of get me there, I've asked for a little bit of help from my people, okay? My people, because the way that we would start off things would be to introduce a little bit of your heritage. And what we need to do is to, Tim and the Hersman are here. If you could just step right up here, Tim. And, well, this is a little of your heritage, Zaf. Tim?
Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel, we've got the blue on the run. Zaf, you're the greatest. Bring out a song of good cheer. Now's the time to roll the barrel for the gangs on here. Don't catch your peril. Zaf is a barrel of puns. Wear sports apparel. Counts fans and friends by the time. Cares for our athletes. Like us, St. Mike's with his cheer. Purple at last stock and barrel, and your gang's all here. Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel, we've got the blue on the run. Zaf, you're the greatest. Bring out a song of good cheer. Now's the time to roll the barrel for the gangs all here.
Have you ever met such a nice guy as Zaf? I mean, I'm just telling you that. I mean, what a great guy. From home, my mother said, what a nice guy. My father, a nice guy. And my sisters, everything. You guys are next. I won't be too long, I promise. But you know, I always kind of wondered about the exit interview from athletics, which I had. I had my exit interview. Walter. Walter, great basketball coach for us. Walter, nice job. I know Walter got from Eddie a small little glass. Eddie thought they were milk glasses. Walter knows they were shot glasses. Eddie from Mike got water glasses. Nice job, Mike. Eddie got the water glasses. I got a cheese and cracker plate. It's pretty good. I got a chair too. Thank you, Jerry. I always wanted the rocker. Zaf got a dinner. You got a dinner. I bet you got the rocker too. I bet you got a chair. So I'm just telling you, it's a go. Everybody listened a little bit ago. Jody, I've been in 40 meetings with you, and I never heard your voice. What's that? What is this breathing stuff she's talking about? As well as the relationship talk? I spent more time, Andy, cover your ears, with you in a hotel than my wife. Andy, this is what you can't repeat. It might have been a little better with Zaf. I know what you can do. But where forget the guy from Norwich, okay? I'm just telling you, okay? Tony, love you, love you. But, you know, all these jokes, how many jokes do you think it takes to kill one Norwich loss? How many? Here's the plight of a coach and a trainer. Coach, I'm going to war. Zaf's going back to see all the buddies in Norwich. I'm down there in war paint. Zaf is dressed to the hilt. You know why? He knows one of our players are going to get hurt down in Norwich, right? He's got more stuff in his bag than you can shake a stick at. Because he knows, and he's dressed well, he's jumping on the ice. And you know what happens when Zaf jumps on the ice? Everybody's going, Zaf! What are you doing? It's a call. I get out there. It might have been you, Joey, that was hurt, I'm not sure. And Zaf's over there checking his eyes, making sure he's all set and stuff. And I go, Joey, what's wrong? He says, my ankle. And I say, Zaf, it's his ankle. And he goes, yeah, but I got to check it. Hey, Joe, no lunch money, otherwise on the bus. Bang, he's up on the bus. But back to Tony. It's really great Tony's here, right? 25 years I coached, right? 25 years, never beat Norwich. And he said to me once, why are you playing them? And I said, Zaf did the scheduling. But tonight, Zaf, we win. We win. I sat with you, Tony, right? I asked you where your car was, right? It's in the Willisky River right now. I gotta go to confession right now, and I see Father Ray got up. Wait till next time I'm at church with him, and he starts his homily. I'm getting out. Father, myself, I'm proud of you being here, but I just can't give up the moment that every time we play Norwich, Father would come in and give us the prayer, and at the end of one day, you guys will remember this, Father Marcellus says, and I hope we don't lose too bad. What does Zaf do? Start giving a couple of his jokes. And then we go off to play Norwich. But Eddie, remember when you called me in the office and we had the problem? And the problem was, I bought the equipment, and you said, where'd you get this equipment? And I said, I got the equipment. And you said, you didn't tell me. I said, I told Zaf. When I rented the ice a little too much, and you said, why'd you do this? I said, I told Zaf. When I spent a little bit more money on the lunches and stuff for the kids, and you said, why'd you do this? And I said, well, Zaf said I could. Zaf, I don't know why he kept you on the job. I just can't understand it. I just can't understand it. All of the things that I have to apologize to you for that. So, from a point of family, there is nobody like Zaf, and we all know that. And that's why we're here. I was lucky enough, and my family, Andy, Lou, Andy, Ronnie, Maggie, Molly, and all, I might have missed one there. I've all benefited from touching base with Zaf at one point or another. And I gained a dad with Eddie, Mike, tremendous, Jerry, I've got Don now, which is tremendous, and I gained a brother when I came to St. Mike's, because it's Zaf's the reason why I got the job. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, looks at the sports page. Oh, St. Mike's is going to hockey. Hey, Lou, you might want to think about it. So I said, yeah, great. Eddie, I was afraid to go to Eddie's office, to be honest with that piece of it, but that was my military training. I will try, that was it. And I walked in and it said, I see something and you, Zaf, take him for a walk. He took me for a walk around the back lot there. We come back in and had an interview with Eddie, and then it went from there, but it was all history. So I am so grateful for that day, as well as what a great day. But how long do I have to be here to get a day like this? That's what I'm just telling you. Eddie had a little bit of a thing. Walter, I'm not sure if you got one. Zaf, what a day. Thanks, brother.
Beautiful, Lou. That's all I'm going to say. Well, it's hard as it may be to believe that after enjoying Lou's presentation, we've indeed saved the best for last. Over his 39 career at St. Michael's, Zaf personally connected with thousands of students and was really good at making each one feel like he or she was special, like a member of his family, one of his own. But in reality, there are only 2 lucky ladies who can make that claim, and they've always been his absolute pride and joy and the loves of his life. Ladies and gentlemen, Zaf's daughters, Zoe and Bryce.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. I'm sure you're all here on purpose. It's a little fishy. Some of you may not know me, but I'm Zaf's daughter, which has many benefits, including but not limited to growing up on a beautiful college campus. I spent many a day playing in the cupboards of the training room, making forts in the Ross bleachers, and learning how to drive golf carts to the 300s. I learned how to bag ice and saran wrap it on an injured knee, and I watched my dining room table become the unofficial training room of Colchester High School. Throughout my life, I've been amazed at what my dad does for people, whether it be drive to change a tire in the rain so some athletes could go to a SAC conference, or wait hours in the ER for some x-rays. I owe a lot to my dad, my high tolerance for bad jokes, the increased ability to roll my eyes, and of course the patience to wait for him while he chicken pecks his way through typing an email. But seriously, for all the times you cried through a sappy movie with me, drove hundreds of miles to see me play, and bought me creamies, thank you for all of those times too, Dad.
Thank you, Bryce. Good evening, and thank you all for coming. I promise no bad jokes, not my thing. We'll leave that to him. Now that I have a professional job and have been part of the workforce for what feels like forever, but in reality, about 5 years. So nothing compared to my dad's 39. You start to notice aspects of your job, career, and employer that are important to you. For my dad, it's always been about the students and giving back. I recently learned he decided to become a PE teacher because his high school teachers took an interest in him. They cared. They made him feel important. Although he ultimately didn't become a PE teacher, he has tried to take an interest in each and every student at St. Michael's. He's provided them with an ear when they needed someone to talk to, a ride to the ER when they were hurt, band certification on a Friday night, and of course, a bad joke to make them smile. At times, this mentality has taken a toll on our family time and other commitments, but fortunately for Bryce and myself, St. Michael's has always been a home away from home, and we love being on campus, going to basketball games, hanging out in the training room, catching up with staff and students who have become an extended family to us. And now that I have a job and work in an industry that requires long hours and isn't kid-friendly, I realized how lucky I was to be able to spend time with my parents at their jobs, and how lucky they have been to work in a place where they can be both dedicated to their job without compromising family time. When I was a freshman in high school, my dad was thinking about leaving St. Michael's. He thought it was time to move on, and he asked Bryce and myself what we thought of the idea. We both instantaneously said no. Leaving was out of the question. He couldn't possibly leave St. Michael's and work somewhere else. It just didn't seem right. St. Michael's was his identity, it was our family's identity, and it was our way of life. He couldn't leave. That was the end of it. What amazes me when I look back at this situation is that he asked our opinion. Like it was a family decision, not just his. If someone told me today that I had to leave my job, I'd be like, oh, okay. But really, he thought it was a family decision. That's what St. Michael's has been for us, a family. So before I call my dad up to the podium, I want to thank you all for making St. Michael's an amazing place to work, grow up, and call home. Our family has been so blessed to be a part of this family. And Dad, thank you for staying at St. Michael's for so long. Thank you for putting everyone else before yourself. Thank you for always letting me win races between like the movie store and IGA. For not missing any of my high school soccer games and attending as many SLU soccer games as possible. For coaching my far post team, even when I fired you. For timing me on my miles around the Tarrant track after a long day at the office. For always picking me up, even late night. And for your patience. A house full of girls is tough. I know you're not crazy about an event dedicated to you, but you deserve it. And I know you will say you didn't do any of this to have a party thrown in your honor, but it's the least we can do for you. So come up here, try not to tell too many jokes. Thank you.
I am touched and humbled by this event, and I really don't have any words to describe how I feel, other than DiMasi needs to work on his jokes because they didn't really come out that well. And I don't know where you get, you know, hanging out with you is better than hanging out with your wife. I don't know, it wasn't the same for me. Let me start. I am just going to tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to where I am today, the type of person, the influences that happened to me. So let me start by, you've heard this plenty of times tonight. What do you get when you cross an elephant with a rhinoceros? Elefino, absolutely, and you heard it on the notes. This past spring, I was honored at the annual Block and Varsity Sports Banquet by the student athletes. You saw that. I wasn't aware that they were going to show that. They put together a video of their favorite bad jokes, bad Zaf jokes, and that was one of the most quoted. So I just had to start with that. I was delighted to be honored at the Block and felt it was a wonderful way to end my career. As most of you know, I do not really like attention and would have preferred to have left St. Michael's the same way I came, unnoticed. Quick little story about that. Eddie hired me and he said, be at St. Michael's August 15th. I got there and he was on vacation. The only one that was there was Jimmy French, and he was looking at me like, who are you? We don't have an athletic trainer or physical. I felt that the Block M was a perfect way to end my career, with the spotlight being on the student athletes and maybe a small flashlight on me. Tonight, this event, the support that I've received is overwhelming, and words cannot begin to describe how honored I am. I've always maintained that my career at St. Michael's has never been about me. It's always been about the students, and I like to think this gathering is more a celebration of you and not so much about me. Over the years, I've heard many people talk about their experiences, influences during their careers, and I've loved to listen to their stories. I want to share with you some of my stories and hope that they make you smile and perhaps give you an insight into the lessons I've learned and how they shape my life. I'll try to be brief and not ramble, otherwise my lovely wife Jackie will be upset with me. And, as all you husbands out there know, a happy wife is a happy life. My father was a self-employed shoemaker, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom, so growing up, money was tight. When I was 7, I asked my father for some money, maybe about 25 cents to buy a model collar airplane. When I asked, I could tell that something was wrong, but didn't know what. He gave me the money, but I realized some years later that I really didn't have it to give, and when he gave me the money, he had to do with less. My mother was the same way, doing with us as she could save money for my college fund. They taught me that it was better to give. That's what made them happy, and to this day, giving is what always makes me happy. I am the youngest of 3 brothers. My older brother, Sot, was 14 years older. My other brother, Zhivko, was 12 years older. You could say I was an afterthought, and I was. After my father died, their support and interest in me influenced me significantly. They both worked 6 days a week in the shoe store, and the store was busy on those days, especially on Saturdays. Growing up, I was very involved in sports, football, baseball, anything that was available to play. It was something, anything that was available to play was something that my brothers never got to do growing up in Macedonia, but they always made it a point to be involved, take me to practices and coming to games when they could. What I really remember was that when I was in high school, they would take turns coming to my Saturday football games. This meant the world to me because I knew how difficult it was for them to come. It meant that one of them had to work twice as hard. This taught me that supporting someone by your presence in their life, regardless of how difficult, is important. Their involvement in my activities influenced me significantly. When I was in high school, my phys ed teachers, and Zoe alluded to this, Manning, Harvey, and Jack Duckert were my role models. They were also my football and track coaches. I had a great relationship with them because they cared and took an interest in me. On one particular day, I was really down in the dumps because I had a falling out with my girlfriend. Jackie, please make believe you didn't hear that. I was moping around when Jack Duckert came up to me and asked what was wrong. When I finally told him, he smiled in relief because in his mind, it wasn't really that serious. But he also realized that it was serious to me. He cared about me and took the time to talk to me and help me. I learned that paying attention to the people around you, establishing a relationship based on respect and understanding is important. I learned from him that the little things often matter far more than the big things. I decided to attend Norwich University and started in the fall of 1970. There were many individuals who influenced me there, but one person in particular, Wally Mage Baines, taught me many lessons. Mage was chairman of the phys ed department, taught 4 or 5 undergraduate courses, and was the men's lacrosse coach. The NU phys ed department was so small, Mage wore a lot of hats. Sounds a bit like St. Michael's. When I was a sophomore, there were a number of students who wanted to run cross country, but there was no one to coach. Mage did not know anything about running, but saw that there was a need and became involved. I remember one practice where he met us on the track to discuss the day's workout. He was dressed in his PE outfit, smoking a cigarette. I laugh about it now, smoking, but then we didn't care because we loved the man. He saw a need, stepped up. If it could help, he would, and he did. Mage and Joe Sable, former football coach and athletic director, are the reasons I am here today. When they heard about the opening at St. Michael's, they called Ed Markey about me, helped me get an interview for the SMC position. They did such a great job that years later, when I finally asked Ed how many people he interviewed for the position, he said, just me. I guess it was kind of the way things were done in those days. I am glad it worked out well for me. Speaking of Ed, and I weren't sure you were coming, but here you go. Speaking of Ed, I had the pleasure, along with Sue Duprat, Assistant Athletic Director, working with him, a true SMC legend. For over 20 years, he used to say that Sue and I were his right and left hands. Although, I'm not sure why he would say that, as we were both right-handed. Seriously though, talk about loyalty to an institution. He bled purple and gold. Although he never was a trendsetter, as I remember the many outfits Ed would wear, most of them the colors never matched. If you can believe this, his gold jacket never quite matched the purple pants, or vice versa. Ed, how do you mess up purple and gold? He did. Ed was an unbelievable role model. Talk about integrity. He was a man of his word and frowned upon anyone who did not keep their commitments. He stressed loyalty, but when decisions needed to be made, he would always ask us our opinions. He would ask us in his office to discuss an issue. We'd give him our thoughts. Once the decision was made, whether we agreed or not, once we left the office, we were all in support of the decision. I remember one time Ed asked me in his office, I was shaking in my boots, as I could tell something was bothering him. I thought I had done something. I knew when his face was red and he inhaled through his nostrils that something was up. I can see it now, right? Fortunately for me, all he wanted to do was talk and get some advice. I knew I had arrived when Ed was seeking my advice, and I thank you for it. At the time, did not know this until later years, he always shielded Sue and I from all the crazy things that can happen in athletics, from angry alums, concerned parents, or budget issues. He always took the heat because he was in charge, but was ultimately responsible for all that went on in the athletic department, regardless of whose fault it was. He was a true leader. To all the SMC coaches who I've worked with over the years, I've learned much. They taught me that coaching was not about winning, but about developing the total person regardless of gender, race, or sexual orientation. They taught me that success was a byproduct of hard work and the lessons learned on the court or playing field. That it is important to inspire each student athlete to get better and not limit themselves. As I like to say, the only limitations you have are the ones you put on yourself. I learned this from some great coaches who were, more importantly, wonderful people. Coaches such as Walter Baumann, Les Johnson, Kathy O'Neill, Jim Donahue, Jeff Culkin, Ozzie, Ann Noon Adams, Todd Wadsworth, John Carvelis, and Rick Cleary, to mention a few. A special shout out to Sue DiMasi, two amazing people, coaches, and individuals. Sue was a trailblazer for women in athletics. She helped change the view that college varsity athletics. She was an advocate for equality and was significantly involved in the establishment and expansion of women's athletics at St. Michael's. She was well loved by her players and commanded their respect. They would do anything for her, and she would do anything for them. Lou DiMasi, on a roll, 110%, although I don't know how you can get that. It's all good. I can't tell you how many times I heard that over the 20 or so years we were together when he coached the men's ice hockey team. He is one of the toughest individuals I've ever met, yet has the biggest heart of anyone I know. All the hockey boys loved him because they knew he cared, even if he never said it and was in their face for doing something they weren't supposed to do. He is the only person I know who deals with discipline on campus, but yet has been awarded the Father Dupont Award by the Student Association as the outstanding staff member on campus on a number of occasions. And Lou, all the hockey boys, for the record, I did not skate my way from Macedonia. To the current athletic department staff, it has been my honor to have worked with you. To the current athletic department staff, it has been my honor to work with you. We have done some wonderful things together for the student athletes and the college in the past, and I'm certain you will continue to move forward. Your hard work and willingness to go beyond what is expected has always been a sense of pride for me. Thank you for letting me be a part of the team and a part of your lives. To all the intramural students and student athletes I've coached over the years, your energy, enthusiasm, patience, and presence has always put a smile on my face. I have learned so much from you, and I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with you. You have touched my life in ways you will never know. I've always liked to say that every year you look a little younger, but I never feel any older. Please remember to give back what you've received so the circle will never be broken. To each of these great individuals, student athletes, and coaches that have been a part of my life, I offer my thanks for showing me how to live a life of service to others, and through that life to have paid forward the great kindness and support they've showed me to those faculty, and staff I have had the privilege of working with over the past 39 years. Since the announcement of my retirement, I've had many people reach out to me, and their thoughts and kind words touch me in ways I have no words to describe. I just know that I've been blessed to have been a part of St. Michael's community for my entire career. Thank you for everything. To the Bludevich and Murphy families, thank you for being here and for all your support over the years. I am so proud to call you family. To Zoe and Bryce, you have no idea how proud I am of both of you. Thank you for being my daughters and putting up with the same bad jokes over and over again. To my wife and best friend of 35 beautiful years. Thank you for understanding and supporting me. We are a wonderful team together, and I look forward to the next however many years that we are together. I love you. To each of you here, thanks to those of you who traveled great distances to be here, and thanks as well to those who have come from around the corner. I am humbled to be honored by all of you. Finally, thanks to St. Michael's and to the Edmundite Fathers for all the opportunities that you have provided me. It is an amazing place that I call home that has been a true family for me. Oh, by the way, second most told joke by the student athletes, although you didn't see the whole clip, was, why do cows wear bells around their necks? And the answer is, because their horns don't work. Utterly ridiculous, right? Thank you again, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Zaf. What a great name. At your place settings, I'm sure you noticed the purple bracelets with the letters WWZD emblazoned on them, we've set for you as a keepsake for tonight's event. A simple gesture, a little takeaway, meant to provide a meaningful and lasting tribute. It was clearly evident in the words of our speakers tonight and in the hearts and memories of all in this room this evening. Zaf, you're a true original, one of a kind. Once-in-a-lifetime kind of guy on a college campus. The way he treats people from the moment he first meets them, the genuine warmth in his eyes and that great smile. His infectious passion shows in every meaningful effort that he's part of. So we hope you wear your bracelet and faced with everyday situations and think there's an opportunity, something to do nice for someone or give someone you know undivided quality time or make the extra effort to make a real difference for others. Your eyes will catch your bracelet. You'll think to yourself, what would Zaf do? And you'll choose to make somebody's day. Who loves you, Zaf? We all do. Thank you all, and have a great evening.